All right, boys, we got another D.O.T. blitz coming up May 14th through the 16th, 2024. But let's go ahead and get started with it. First thing is just the requirements. The requirement is that the truck and trailer both have to be operated by air. That's basically it. They're not going to do it on a dump truck. Okay, so step one, the system must be within its normal operating temperature range between compressor cutout and compressor cut in, meaning between about 75 to 120 psi. Right at about 100, that's about right. Step two, wheels must be chalked and all brakes must be released. Let's go ahead and chalk our wheels. Now let's go ahead and release our brakes. I already got the air built up on my truck. I don't know if they're going to do this with the truck on or off. Just so you can hear me, I'll leave the truck off. So we got to release the brakes. That means push in our valves. They're pushed in, brakes are released. Explain to the driver that the supply, emergency, and the service control glad hand couplings must be removed to simulate a trailer breakaway event and to determine compliance of the towing vehicle protection system under this condition. Always have the driver perform this step and make sure to advise the driver to be careful and to take protective action to avoid injury from the high pressure air, water, oil, or dirt that could escape from the supply emergency glad hand upon separation. And then the next step says, I'll explain that one here in a second. Air will immediately escape from the supply emergency glad hand line. Listen for and ensure that the air stops escaping from the supply emergency glad hand line. In most cases, the air will stop almost immediately. In some systems, the air will escape for a period of time and then stop. But in no case should the valve fail to close once the gauge pressure drops to 20 psi in either the primary or secondary system. When the valve fails to close before the pressure drops below 20 psi, the power unit's trailer supply valve is defective. This vehicle has a violation that is in out of service condition. All right, so what they mean by that is these two lines right here. This is your emergency line, the red one, blue is your service line. Okay, so what they're checking for is in case, say your trailer becomes separated from the truck. Obviously these lines are going to be pulled off. You're going to have air that's coming out of these lines when it separates. You have to have a protection system that automatically cuts that air supply off. So that's what we're testing for. So we're going to go ahead and pop them loose. I would suggest to use hearing protection with this, or like eye protection, but I forgot my hearing protection. Let's pop them loose. As you can see, air's still coming out, but what it said is as long as it cuts that air off before it gets down to 20 psi, we're good. So let's climb up here. It's steadily there, right at about 50 psi, so that's perfect. We passed that test. If my air pressure got below 20 psi and the valve still hadn't released, then the trailer valve protection system would be defective. So let's go ahead and go to the next one. When the glad hand couplings are disconnected, the trailer emergency spring brakes must also apply automatically. Failure to do so indicates that the breakaway system on the trailer is defective. The trailer has a violation, and that's an out of service violation. When the glad hand couplings are disconnected, the trailer system must close automatically. Check the supply emergency glad hand coupler on the trailer for air bleeding back. Air leaking from the glad hand coupling on the trailer indicates that the trailer spring brake control valve is defective. The trailer has a violation, but that is not an out of service condition. Okay, so we had to hook our air lines back up, rebuild our pressure to normal operating range. So we're going to go ahead and disconnect them again, and we're going to do two things this time. We're going to make sure that the brakes are set on the trailer, and we're also going to make sure that there's no air bleeding back through these valves right here. And the reason for that, once again, trailer separation. You don't want the trailer to just keep rolling down the road. The brakes need to be set.
Ready?
Yep.
Okay, so as you can see, the trailer brakes did engage once I pulled these valves off here. Now we're going to go ahead and check to make sure the air isn't back feeding through these valves right here. All right, so let's go ahead and take these off. Kind of hard to tell because this makes so much noise, but there's no air. No air is backfeeding on this. Once the air has stopped and you have checked the pressure, have the driver return to the cab of the power unit and instruct the driver to apply the service brakes and hold it. Check for any air escaping from either the supply, emergency, or the service control glad hand line. When air escapes from either glad hand line, the towing protection valve is defective. This vehicle has a violation that is in out of service condition. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and step in the truck and I'm gonna press on the brake. We're going to try to listen to see if any air is leaking out of our air lines back here. It's going to be what they're talking about is these lines. No air should be escaping when your parking brakes are set, obviously. And we got our air built back up too. It didn't really specify whether or not they do it with the air built back up, but just for all intents and purposes, we're gonna do it that way. Let's go ahead and hit this brake. Alright guys, I guess that concludes the test. Obviously they're going to be looking for other stuff other than just this. This is going to be their focus of their inspections, but you already know they're going to be looking for tires. Make sure you got 2 30-seconds at least on the front and then 4 30-seconds on your trailer and the drives and the lights. Tires and lights, things they can see and hear. Those are things that are good indicators of whether or not the truck is very well taken care of, and in my opinion, that probably is what leads to whether or not they're going to give you a level 1 or a 2 or a 3. So try to come in there with a clean truck. Don't look like you're all paranoid and stuff. That's hard to do if you have a bad history with police. But yeah, just hopefully it works out for you guys. Hell, they didn't teach this stuff whenever I went to truck driving school. This is a pretty specific test. So we'll see you in the next one. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment, share, and I'll answer any questions you got as best as I can. So we'll see. I'll put a link to that article from Overdrive in the description of this video, and I'll also put a link to that inspection bulletin which I went over in the video. And don't do anything that I did in this video without first consulting a professional.